I think it's clearly a sign that a lot of the market is actually being driven by pretty good fundamentals. You still have an earnings story that's there. You still have a consumer that's there. You still have housing that's continuing to improve. So a lot of these things haven't changed. You do have political risks that are going to get priced in, and you're going to see that.
Do you think the market's kind of looking at this and saying, okay, there's not much to see here? I mean, I think the market has to address it in some way.
Looked into that abyss last year at this time, didn't they, with the Brexit vote? So they've sort of been here, seen that it can go wrong, and they probably are going to price in some, risk premiums around the pound. Mm-hmm. And in the U.S., same thing. We've seen this kind of continuing, what I would call unfortunate tale of events going on in Washington. So the market's seen that, and they're looking through it right now, saying, well, we do actually have pretty decent data. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about consumer, optimism, business optimism we were talking about earlier. So I think all of those things are supportive of, in fact, the equity markets.
Krishna, it's the support that we've seen. The earnings have been strong. The global economy seems pretty strong, but we have seen a few wobbles when it comes to the U.S. job market and some questions about the stability or longevity of our potential economic gains.
I wouldn't consider them wobbles. I think one of the things that could unwind the markets is if all of a sudden the Fed goes on a very different trajectory because inflation all of a sudden started picking up and reflation again became an issue. And the fact that inflation is still subdued, it's not deflation, but disinflation, and rates remaining stable and perhaps cutting off the future path of rate rise at a meaningful level, I think that's supportive of equities. We have global synchronized growth, policy relatively stable. That's a really good environment for equities to do well.
So maybe the more important news that we saw yesterday of all the things that we were watching was the ECB, which didn't change rates as expected. But then the comments from Mario Draghi were that, don't expect us to be changing this anytime soon, which a lot of people read and said he's not going to be raising rates through his tenure all the way through 2019.
Absolutely. And inflation in Europe, which was looking to pick up in a meaningful way, all of a sudden is rolling over. Same here in the U.S. So I think as long as interest rate policy is relatively stable, and perhaps gradual, up, but very gradual, I think the markets are in pretty good shape. For the markets to sustain themselves, I think the synchronized global recovery has to kind of hold. For that, policymaking in China doesn't have to go, shouldn't go to an extreme. If they tighten too hard, that would be a problem. And if the U.S. economy, for whatever reason, rolls over in the second half, that would be a problem. I don't think that's in the cards at the moment.